And while the president and Iran have agreed to that 2-week ceasefire, that doesn't mean that a long-term peace deal is a sure thing. NBC News national security reporter Gordon Lubold joins us now to help us sort of make sense of all this. Gordon, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Sean.
Of course, the president made global headlines with that threat to wipe out an entire civilization. Well, now the deadline is moving again. Do you believe that this was all just a negotiating tactic?
Right, so we know with this president that he likes to talk tough and then set deadlines and often move them. And in this case, 2 weeks is a constant refrain for him. There's something about the 2 weeks thing. And so we think that he really was trying to find some kind of off-ramp, backed himself into a bit of a corner. The Pakistanis kind of essentially helped him find that off-ramp. We should remember also that this is just days after a pretty potentially a very positive outcome of the downed F-15 fighter in Iran and the retrieval and the rescue of those two. But I think there was a lot of factors here playing into all this, and now we'll have to see where it unfolds.
You had some reporting, we know, earlier on the target options in Iran that were being presented to the White House today. How close were we to actually military strikes tonight?
So it was always very centralized, and always is under this administration, a very centralized decision-making process. I think that what we knew is that the president potentially very much meant what he was going to do. Whether he was going to start bombing or have the Pentagon execute his orders at 8:01 p.m. or not was unclear, but I think we had a pretty good sense that the president meant what he said, and it certainly had the forces in the region to do it. But our reporting suggested that he had some options before him to strike infrastructure targets that potentially would allow him to strike targets that were dual-use targets, military and civilian. But that still caused a lot of concern among even his own party.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk a little bit more about what we know about the status of that longer-term peace talk. We know in the post the president made, he said Iran sent a 10-point proposal. Most of those points have been agreed upon, and said this next 2 weeks would be critical to trying to work this out. What do we know? Are we actually close to something that will bring this to a resolution?
I think what this 2 weeks brings clearly is like some breathing room to do the kind of spade work that's required for this kind of negotiation. We do know, and NBC News is now reporting that the military has been told to suspend operations. We also know that Israel has agreed to this ceasefire as well, and that's an important point because although the U.S. and Israel are very much aligned in many ways, or at least the Trump administration and Israel are aligned, it was not always clear that they would go off in the same direction. But in this case, we know now that they've also agreed to the ceasefire. I think this time will tell, but the animating feature of this plan for the U.S. certainly is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and we've already seen, because of the president's Truth Social post, that the markets have reacted in a positive way, but we'll have to see kind of, again, the devil are always in the details, and we'll see kind of what happens over the next hours and days with regard to the bigger peace plan that I think everybody here wants.
Indeed. I think that's what we will all be waiting and watching to see what happens. NBC News national security reporter Gordon Lubold, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.